Good afternoon, or good evening, folks. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We are going back to that horrible world known as the JRC, but before we do the usual disclaimers, if you are unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, you're going to see all the pertinent links right there in the description box. Please, in particular, take note of the article written by NeuroClastic, a small non for profit started by autistics for autistics. In it, they interviewed over 800 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so called behavior modification program. The Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read that article so much. They threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic refused. You know the drill. Please read the article. Share on all your social media. Also included is NeuroClastic's public statement in regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding just in case they actually see through with their threat. You're also going to see the link to the new proposed ban in regards to the GED devices in the description box as well. Trigger warning 1, itchy. When we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please make sure to use your headphones. Trigger warning 2. This channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and we speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger, allergies, and they are watching this, very obviously parental supervision is very much advised. So where we left off in the new proposed ban, we're going to read through all the disclaimers and then get into the meat of all of this, shall we? Alright, hopefully they haven't done anything else to shoot themselves in the foot, because if they give the JRC even an inch, those bastards will take like 50 miles. So, back to where we were. And allergies suck, folks, especially when it rains, because, yeah, my eyes are dry and this is not fun. Okay. The Regulatory Flexibility Act requires us to analyze regulatory options that would minimize any significant impact of a rule on small entities. Because the proposed rule would only affect one entity that is not classified as small, we propose to certify that the proposed rule will not have a significant economic impact on a substantial number of small entities. Also, the JRC has unlimited funds behind them. You want to know why, unfortunately, some of these parents have to settle? They prey on parents from poor communities, folks, for a reason. They have unlimited access to money. Parents do not. It is what it is. That's why we have to go to places like the FDA and the UN to get even the smallest things done. The Unfunded Mandates Reform Act of 1995, Section 202A, requires us to prepare a written statement, allergies, which includes estimates of anticipated impacts before proposing any rule that includes any federal mandate that may result in expenditure by the state, local, and tribal governments in the aggregate or by the private sector of $100 million or more, adjusted annually for inflation in any 1 year. The 2022 threshold after adjustment for inflation is $177 million, using the 2022 implicit price deflator for the gross domestic product. The proposed rule would not result in expenditure in any year that meets or exceeds this amount. 1 second, folks. I'm so sorry. It's really bad. So, the JRC can't sit there and complain about loss of income. All right? Yeah. That's why they have to do those sort of things. So, summary of benefits, cost, and transfers. The proposed rule, if finalized, would ban the electrical stimulation devices, ESDs, for self-interest or aggressive behavior. The FDA has determined that these devices present an unreasonable and substantial risk of illness or injury that cannot be corrected or eliminated by labeling or a change in labeling. No duh. If there's a bigger no duh on planet Earth, other than that point, I don't know what it is. Because, yeah, right? Seriously. The proposed rule would apply to devices already in distribution and use, as well as the future sales and commercial distribution of these devices. The costs associated with this proposed rule include costs of individuals who are subject to the device if they move to another facility or another program within affected entities. Now, folks, most of us who get our services through the state, the costs are usually covered through Medicaid. In fact, that's a major problem out here because some of us folks like myself lost services for a good long minute because I did go to full-time employment and I was fully paid, but I hadn't been at the company long enough to get insurance to cover those services. It's literally taken me over a decade to get my services back in functioning order that makes coherent sense. Yeah, yeah. That's why it's taken me a good long moment to get back to my version of normal. Ask me how fun that was. But that's its own quagmire that I'll get into because the gatekeeper to services out here in Missouri is Medicaid. If you don't qualify for Medicaid, if your parents have good insurance or even just what they can call good insurance, whether it is or not, you're kind of screwed because these other private entities like ARC and what have you usually don't take regular insurance. It's gotta be Medicaid. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, there's a huge issue here. One of these days, I will probably do a video ranting on it, but let me get back to the subject at hand before I go into the left field and take a left turn. All right. The proposed rule would apply to devices already in distribution and use, as well as the future sales and commercial distribution of these devices. The costs associated with this proposed rule include cost of individuals who are subject to the device if they move to another facility or another program with affected entities, which is why I brought up Medicaid. Affected entities who use the device on such individuals will also incur costs from reading and understanding the rule. You got to pay for the paperwork. Deal with it, JRC. Suck it. Sorry, I'm not sorry. The present value of total estimated costs range between 0.0 million and 68.93 million at a 7% discount rate, with a primary estimate of 34.47 million. At a 3% discount rate, the present value of costs range between 0 million and 80.59 million, with a primary estimate of 40.3 million. We estimate that the annualized cost over 10 years would range from 0 million to 9.17 million, with a primary estimate of 4.59 million at a 7% discount rate and a 3.3% discount rate. Okay, let's get into the benefits, shall we? The benefits would include avoided negative physical and psychological effects from using ESDs on individuals and benefits to society in terms of protecting vulnerable populations, which we are not able to quantify. No, we can't really. We would like our civil rights and our human rights to be respected. And quite frankly, there's something real up with society when we even have to ask. And quite frankly, we're not asking anymore. You see, we've become our own power block by accident. It wasn't designed that way for those of us who began this thing. But you can't just make us go away now. I'm just saying. Ask Sia, or however the hell you pronounce her name. Sorry, not sorry. We estimate that between 51 to 54 individuals would be affected by the proposed rule if finalized and benefit from avoided adverse effects associated with using ESDs. Any transfers associated with the rule would occur if individuals enroll at facilities other than the affected entities. And before the JRC says, but no one else will take them, we have already discovered from other survivors of your hellhole that is a bald-faced lie. Jennifer Masumba was able to get into another program. Andre McCollins was able to get into another program. A good majority of the survivors who have spoken up about this hellhole have been accepted into other programs and are doing very well. So don't let the JRC bullshit you. Seriously. Because the reality is that has been proven over and over and over again to be a lie. The present value of total transfer ranges between 0 million and 118.26 at a 7% discount rate, with a primary estimate of 59.13 million. At a 3% discount rate, the present value of transfers ranges from 0 million to 138.26 million, for a primary estimate of 69.13 million. Again, I will state, I don't know how it is in Massachusetts, but out here in my state, that would be Missouri Medicaid, and in case of our elderly folks, Medicare, that would have to eat those costs, usually. The annualized value of transfer ranges 0 million to 15.74 million, with a primary estimate of 7.87 million at 7% and 3% discount rates. We provide a summary of benefits, costs, and transfers of the proposed rule if finalized in Table 1. We've seen this very similar Table 1 back on the final rule that we just finished up. We request comment on our estimates of benefits, costs, and transfers of this proposed rule. So you can see that there. This is all very straightforward. Now we're going to get into the economic analysis. Obviously, we have to go through all the technical jargon before we can get into the meat of this. We're going through it because the JRC is going to make us go through it, and I don't want those people to get away with anything, just because we didn't cover it, even though it is more of the incidental stuff as opposed to, getting these people to stop torturing people. All right, so we're going to go ahead and close out, folks, for this one. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do tend to get removed from time to time. If you could, folks, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. I appreciate your time this evening. As always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I'll see you all here in a few minutes. Bye, everyone.